Just as early as Jaylen Waddle passes his physical and the trade goes through, he speaks to the Broncos media officially for the very first time after becoming a Denver Bronco. Broncos country, welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and Zach Stevens put it in a really good way. How big of a deal is it that Jaylen Waddle's trade to the Broncos went through? Well, this is the first time since Sean Payton became the head coach of the Broncos that they've held any sort of introductory press conference for any free agent signing or trade acquisition immediately following the move happening. He's a special guy. And he took his first photo with his jersey. It does look like that little Jordan gave up 17 to him because that number 17 is going to be waddling in the end zone at Mile High, which I am very excited for. So let's start with this. Jaylen Waddle said, and this was probably his most important quote, "I think everyone's here to make plays and to try to win." Now, of course, that could sound very surface level, like every player would say that. But I think there's a deeper message to what type of player the Broncos were looking to go after. Because while there was speculation about A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson and guys like George Pickens, and notably, I was into that as well, right? Maybe not as much on the A.J. Brown, but George Pickens I definitely was all in on. Jaylen Waddle then said this afterwards: "My time here has been great. Feels like home. It feels like family." The Broncos weren't going to go after any old player. They were going to go after someone that fit their culture. What is the one thing Sean and George Payton have been building in their time together? Culture. What it means to play for the Denver Broncos. They do view it as special, and it is a special thing. To be a Bronco is to play amongst some of the greatest players that have ever graced the NFL. That's another reason you brought him in. Fit. A.J. Brown doesn't fit. George Pickens, as talented as he is, might not have fit. Justin Jefferson, all these big-name wide receivers, they're a lot about themselves, and for good reason, right? They're very talented players. But Jaylen Waddle feels like a we guy, not a me guy. So the fit here makes as much sense as it does for a talent perspective. You're blending the two together perfectly. And now he joins a wide receiver core that all have their own unique abilities. Courtland Sutton is your big body contested catch player. Jaylen Waddle is your wide receiver 1 separator. Your wide receiver 1A separator. Troy Franklin is a crisp, dynamic route runner. Somebody that can really separate off the line of scrimmage. Marvin Mims is your gadget player / deep baller. So, and I do think the Broncos will use him a little bit more effectively than they did last year. And Pat Bryant is your classic chain mover and physical blocker. Somebody that's going to excel between 0 to 10 yards, and he's going to block. He's really going to throw his body on the line for the team. All 5 of these players have their own unique skill set. What they bring to the team fits what the Broncos need. Every single player has their own unique style of play. And another reason why Waddle. The Broncos brought in as part of something that was missing. They brought in Waddle because he was the missing link. If you have a contested catch wide receiver in Courtland Sutton and a great route runner with maybe not the greatest hands, if you've got a gadget player and a chain mover, what's the one thing the Broncos were missing? The home run talent. The guy that could excel in every area. The all-around, jack-of-all-trades, home run hitter. He was the house call player. And you have all the NFL pundits in the league talking about the exact same thing. Man, this was a really good move for the Denver Broncos. Even Nick Wrong, a.k.a. Nick Wright, who hates the Broncos. And we don't like Nick Wright. Even he was fair about the trade. Here's what he said. He's a really good player. He's still young. He's on a reasonable contract. Fair is fair. That's a good trade for Denver. I like that. This is when you go for it. If you have Nick Wright saying this type of stuff, do you remember last year, Wright would not give Bo an ounce of credit for anything. In fact, there were multiple times where he would say, Bo's not good. That's what he would say. If you have Nick Wright admitting that this is a good move, it's a good move because he'd rather die than say anything nice about the Denver Broncos. All this is at least time for the Denver Broncos to get back to the top. This move indicates and showcases to the fan base, we are taking our Super Bowl window seriously. This is the time to really gather your troops and make a push for Super Bowl 61. Pardon me, I am still getting over this really nasty cold. Take a sip of water there. So, before we continue on with the rest of the episode, what should be the Broncos' goal for the 2026 season? If it's not to make a Super Bowl, I don't know what else is. And I would even go one step further. I think everybody in that locker room believes it's to win the damn thing. Because you were 3 points away from making it last year, and that was with a backup quarterback against the New England Patriots. With a healthy Bo, a Jaylen Waddle, and a defense that could get better after the draft, you're going to get really, really scary. Plus, Davis Webb is calling plays. We'll touch on him in a little bit. So, before we continue on with the rest of the episode, make sure that you cop your new Jaylen Waddle Penguin t-shirts here at the Broncos Breakdown. Our guy Arnold cooked these up in the lab while we were on live yesterday. And I got to tell you, these might not be available forever. We sold a bunch of units. So if you want to get yours exclusively here on the Broncos Breakdown, you got to go to chatsports.com/BB17. Chatsports.com/BB17. It's so hot. It's so tough. I love it. I'm going to get mine in black. Use the link that I put in the comments and description of today's video and start your shopping today. One more time, chatsports.com/BB17. Okay. So, I'll take it one step further now that we're continually talking about Broncos news. And it feels like we're starting to get a lot of different news dumps after a week of pretty much dead silence. Rod Smith, one of the all-time greatest Broncos to ever lace him up, sounded off on the wide receiver room. Not so much about Waddle, but more so about guys like Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, etc., and Courtland Sutton. And the quote was, they're going to have to pick up their games. There are only so many spots you could put your guys on the field. All of those guys have earned the right for more action. Having 3 wide receivers on the field is one part of the game plan. He then was asked about the new Broncos play caller and Davis Webb, our offensive coordinator. And he said, I think we're looking for more of an explosive type of offense with Davis Webb calling the plays. So if you're going to give up that much, meaning for Jaylen Waddle, you're definitely expecting a huge return, which is trying to get back to the Super Bowl. But like I told you, this goes beyond Jaylen Waddle. This is not just a Jaylen Waddle, we're putting this on your shoulders. We're adding him because, yes, you were the missing piece, but I think the messaging for the rest of the Broncos wide receiver room is we cannot be what we were last year. Everybody's got to lock in. Everybody's got to elevate. Everybody has to get better, including Courtland Sutton, who, by the way, led the team in drops with 8 official drops. We could have counted at least 12 to 15 of them that he probably should have caught, but I digress. And the numbers, they're not bad, guys. You had a 1,000-yard wide receiver in Courtland Sutton. Troy Franklin took a huge leap from his rookie year to his second year. Pat Bryant at 378 yards. I think he's going to get better. He faced some injuries last year, and Marvin Mims definitely wasn't used correctly. All of 4 of these guys, though, contributed to the second most drops in the league. Now, that's not just the wide receivers, some tight end problems. Evan Ingram, I think, had 5 total drops. Nate Adkins had a couple. RJ Harvey had a few. So it's not just the wide receiver group. It's everybody. It's all encompassing. But this cannot happen again. And I think that's the messaging from Sean Payton. That's exactly why he fired Kerry Colbert after the AFC Championship game and why he was so hot and heated after losing by 3 points. Pardon me. So then he goes out and he hires Ronald Curry from the Buffalo Bills, somebody that he's very familiar with, right? Sean Payton loves and brings in his friends all the time and people that he's close with. This is not new information, but the fact that he's bringing in an outside source to come in and, teach the wide receivers the proper way to catch the football. And probably the most important thing for his ego alone, he gave up play calling. If I remember correctly, going back to his time in New Orleans, he's only done this one time. I think he's only given up play calling one time in his entire coaching tenure. So even if it's 0 or if it's 1, he doesn't do it, ever. It's just not something that he was willing to part ways with. And now he's seemingly put his ego aside a little bit in order to sustain the success of the offense. And then, of course, most recently, you trade for Jaylen Waddle. All 4 of these indicate Sean is serious about winning the Super Bowl. We're this close. But with the moves made comes high expectations. You and I think the exact same way. At least I hope we do. The Broncos, while they might not go 14-3, right? That could be a little unrealistic to think because now we have a tougher schedule than we did last year. It's probably not going to be a 14-3 type of schedule. The entire fan base knows that, but your expectations should be that you can get to and win a Super Bowl while Bo is still on his rookie contract. And I got news for you guys. That number is constantly increasing as the salary cap goes up. Just take a look at the highest paid quarterbacks per year, APY. Dak is number 1 at $60 million. Josh Allen at $55 million per year. I am so sorry, guys. It's been a rough day for me in terms of talking. Burrow, Love, Lawrence, Tua, they're all making or were making a ton of money. And Bo, understanding what this organization is about, I think he's a Broncos guy. I think that's why Sean and George drafted him. Entering year 3 now, he gets what they're trying to do. Everybody is taking team-friendly deals. And this all comes back to Bo. These moves are for Bo, right? They're not for the fan base. Kind of they are, but they're for Bo. Trading for Jaylen Waddle was a move so that he could get a home run hitter. And Bo last year was excellent in the clutch. One of the best clutch quarterbacks in the league. Probably the best clutch quarterback in the league. Here's a good statistic for you. On 3rd and longs, on touchdowns or first downs. So if it was 3rd and 7 or above, who were the quarterbacks in the NFL that had the most touchdowns / first downs? Bo came in at number 3 last year. Love and May were tied at 1 at 30. Bo was right behind him, 1 less at 29. And still, despite that, I thought Bo at times last year left a lot on the table. He did. If you go back to his rookie year, he had a higher completion percentage, he had more touchdowns, and a higher passer rating. Now, I think Bo showed flashes of what he's going to be last year, whereas year 1, it felt more like establishing his footing in the NFL. Year 2 was like there were flashes of what Bo was going to be, and I think Bo is going to be amazing. He threw for more yards, had less interceptions, but this all does come back to the money as well. Even on a team-friendly deal, with the salary cap going up, Bo's looking at $50+ million per year, even if he takes a team-friendly deal. And for a guy that has won 24 regular season games, if he gets back to another deep playoff run, Bo is going to command a lot of money. A lot of it. Now, I do think that he'll take the team-friendly deal in order to keep the team together, but he's not going to be making the same amount that he's making right now on the rookie contract. He's dirt cheap. And the schedule this year doesn't get easy. You got the Chargers, Chiefs, Raiders, notably, because those are your division games. But you play the Bills again. Dolphins are going to suck. They're going to be the worst team in the league. The Rams are tough. The Seahawks won the Super Bowl. Jaguars are good. And then on the road, it's just as difficult. Maybe not as difficult as your home games, but you got the Chargers, Chiefs, and Raiders. You got the Patriots. Jets are easy. You got the Niners, playoff team. Cardinals, they stink. Panthers, playoff team, maybe a lower tier playoff team. And the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not an easy schedule at all. You've got some cakewalks in there. You've got some games you should win. But it's not going to be as easy as it was last year. You know, you're not getting a stretch where you're playing the Jets, and then, the Raiders, and then the Giants, who, believe it or not, gave you a fit last year anyway, but you get my point. It's a first-place schedule for a reason. So this move was by far the best thing you could have done if you were George Paton, solidifying the Broncos as another playoff and Super Bowl contender next year. One more time before we take on off out of here. Subs gained yesterday was 233. We are this close to hitting 35 on not this video, but today total. I think we were at 32 the last time I checked. So if you want to get us over 35 subscribers and you made it to the end of the video, hit that subscribe button for the latest surrounding your Denver Broncos. That's all I got for you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up icon as well. A quick little mile high salute. Be cool.